All right, we're live. We're live. We're live. Susan, how you doing? You
Yes.
look fantastic.
Thank you, Liam. You are good for my self-esteem as always. And I am just emailing our buddy, Mr. Schwartz, the link in case he is free to join because it happens to be a quarter to the time that he was free. There we
Excellent.
have it. All right. And let me just let him know by text that that went. How has your day been, Liam?
Busy. 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 Busy.
And the link went to your email. Liam, would you like me to tell you a little bit about what's happening today and why I'm here?
Absolutely. Let us know where you are, what you're up to, and fill us in.
I can tell you exactly where I am because I was given a map so that I could find myself in the building. And the building is this. It is the Capitol building in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Harrisburg, obviously, being the capital of Pennsylvania. What brought me here today is that the American Foundation for the Prevention of Suicide has organized a day called Advocacy in Action. And it is a day in which any concerned citizen can come to the Capitol and meetings are arranged with Congress people. The purpose is for people to be able to urge their lawmakers to endorse the legislation that might reduce our suicide numbers as a nation, which are sadly exorbitantly high. So some of the things that are of utmost importance to American Foundation for Prevention of Suicide, they have three main things that they are wanting to put on lawmakers' mind. One is the support for House Bill number 564. And this bill would require the Department of Human Services to implement a 988 public awareness campaign to include promoting awareness of available services, clarifying use of 988 versus 911, and providing information on suicide prevention measures and warning signs. If people don't know the difference, I'll do my best. 911 is what you are calling when something has already happened. You have somebody who is on the floor unconscious. You have oh my goodness, you have a situation that's unfolding in front of your eyes and you need intervention from police, an ambulance, fire department, etc. 988 is the number that you call just prior to that. So it's a line that people can call when they're in distress. They're not immediately thinking of self-harm, but they're really, really, really struggling. And it will connect people to live volunteers who staff the support line, who can talk the person through the moment they're having, connect them to help so in the way of therapists, support groups, those kinds of things, as well as just staying on the phone with them if there's a dark moment at 2 a.m. where they need support. So
And
that's
so I
one thing
believe
that, I'm sorry,
we
Liam?
have I believe we have the website right here. 988 Suicide Crisis
Line.
Lifeline. Is that the? Do I have it correctly there?
You do. Yep, you've got it. Yep. So, one of the things that has happened as our numbers of people in crisis have exploded is that there are more and more options for support on the phone. We're all familiar with the term hotline, that you can call a hotline for domestic abuse or a hotline for, I'm really thinking of suicide. There are now lines that are called warm lines. And as the name would imply, the person is not feeling quite as imminently at risk of self-harm as they would be if they needed to call 911 or a hotline, but they do want support. So, for example, I once had a younger person that I was working with, and this younger person was experiencing some pretty significant concerns at home. And there was a time where the person was locked in the garage and it was cold out for about, I'm going to say 6 hours. The person did not have warm stuff on, did not have food, did not have water. However, the person remembered that there were warm lines that were posted and was able to access the warm line and speak to somebody who could stay on the phone until the person was no longer in the garage.
And is this up and running? Is this what you would
Oh
call a
yeah, this is up
warm
and running. This
line?
has been up and running. This has been up and running. And actually, what I will do is I will just take 1 minute to pull up my own email, because one of the things that I did in a suicide prevention way was to change the signature line of my email. And the reason I did it, I have a friend, her name is Annie. Annie is a school counselor like me. That was my role for 8 years. Annie is still in that role. And at the school where she was working, there was a signature line that included all the crisis lines, hotlines, warm lines, safe to say, which we can talk about that in a minute, lines. And there was a family at the school who told her, our daughter is alive because of that, because of the signature line. So what happened is the kid emailed my friend, and it was after hours. I don't remember whether it was the middle of the night, whether it was on a weekend, but the friend got the automated response that Mrs. Davis is not in her office. But at the bottom of the automated response were all the lists of options that person, that student could call. And she did. And when Annie told me about that, I immediately went to my division director and the head of the school where I worked and said, can I do that? Can I add all the suicide warm lines, crisis lines, and safe to say numbers at the bottom of my email? And they did. So I'm looking at it right now, and I've got 911 if there's immediate danger, National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 800 273 8255, 988, a nationwide mental health hotline. You can also text PA for Pennsylvania to 741 741. That one's really important because if you're in a crisis situation, but you have to remain quiet. So, for example, you're a kid and maybe you don't have privacy. Maybe your parents can hear through the walls. Or there's some other reason that it's not appropriate for you to make as much noise as would be required to do a phone call, you can text. The other reason that's really important is because a lot of kids today are not comfortable talking on the phone. For whatever
And so
reason,
both numbers 988 and 741 you can talk or text.
I believe that 988 is for telephoning and talking. And you get a live human who talks you through whatever situation you're having. The texting option is 741 741.
And
So
it looks like
you,
here it's both you have availability in both English and Spanish.
I believe so. So let me click back over to where you are, Liam, because it sounds like you're looking at something. Yes. So another option that's available, and it's relevant to anybody who is in school, as in 12th grade all the way down to pre-kindergarten, not that they can read yet, is the safe to say numbers. Safe to say was implemented after the Sandy Hook shooting, however many years ago that was. Safe to say is available in all schools in Pennsylvania. It's available in public schools, private schools, charter schools, parochial schools, any option for schooling. I believe cyber schools also make children aware. So kids are given, I believe it's 5 options through Safe to Say. They can call a toll-free number and say, I'm worried either about myself or about my friend Jack, who's talking about self-harm, or maybe I'm worried about my friend Jack because it sounds to me like the discipline he's getting at home is perhaps crossing the line into what we would consider abuse as opposed to physical discipline. They can also text Safe to Say. And if they do that, they should know that it is the numeral 2 and not TO. If they have a device with internet access, they can pull up the Safe to Say website online.
Is this it?
And
Is this it? Safetosay.org?
I believe so. Let me look at what you're looking. Yep, that's it. Yep. And so all schools have that poster of what you're looking at right now, plastered all over. And one of the things that I did as a school counselor, every single year, I would go to each grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. And for 5th graders, I would really take my time explaining the whole thing because 5th graders are 9 and 10 years old. It is for some of them a brand new, I apologize for that. It is a brand new thing for some of them to even be aware that self-harm exists. So you have kids who are real naive who are saying, well, what? You mean a person would want to kill their own self? And they're really upset by it.
Sure.
You get kids who are unfortunately already familiar with it and they say, oh yeah, my friend so and so, she's been posting a lot online about wanting to hurt herself. So with fifth graders, I would do the presentation, and for most of them, it was the first time they got it. Every year after that, I would go back and I would say, I'm here, we're doing it again. Let's see what you guys remember from last year. We would review all the options. We would review talking points like, if you're in middle school, for a lot of kids, there's a real conflict as to, am I a bad friend if I betray my friend's confidence and I share information with someone else that my friend explicitly told me I am not to share it? What I always said, and I was very direct, because I would honestly rather, this is what I would say to girls. Girls, I know that's a hardship for you. But in all honesty, I would rather have you endure your friend being angry at you than, God forbid, your friend does something to hurt herself and you have to live with that for the rest of your life, that you had a sense that she might be in danger and you didn't reach out to an adult. I also told kids that the determination as to whether somebody is just talking about it or whether they're really at risk of doing it, that is too weighty of a determination for you at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. Turn it over to the grown-ups. You need to let them know. I always told them that their parents were welcome to call me, because sometimes a child might go home and say to their parent, I'm really worried about my classmate. The parent now has that information. I know from my child that such and such a student may or may not be in trouble, but at any rate, my kid is worried about this classmate. Sometimes the parents are reluctant to use their name when they're calling. I would always tell students, your mom or dad can call me and they can block their phone number. You, the student, can slide a note under my door and you don't have to tell me who you are. And honestly, Liam, the most creative was, I'm so glad I had said it. Kids always knew I would carry my pink water bottle, and I don't have it with me today, but at school I had a mug. It was pink with flowers on it, and I usually had my phone. So one day I went into the bathroom, and right outside the bathroom door, I left my water bottle, my pink cup, and my phone just like this. And when I came out and I lifted my phone, there was a little scrap of paper folded right on it. No name, pencil, scribbled, and it told me the name of a student and that she was talking about hurting herself, and that the kid who wrote the note believed that she needed for an adult to check in on her. I did check in on the kid. The kid was in trouble. I was able to connect her to help and get her parents involved in the situation. And to this day, I don't know who wrote it, and it doesn't matter. And that was always my thing to kids is, you definitely reach out to the adult. It's better to reach out to the adult, and you were wrong. And I would also say to kids, if your friend is angry at you, then what you're saying to her is, you can be angry at me, but I was worried. I did what I did out of love, not out of a desire to make your life more difficult. I think some students were worried, oh, so-and-so's parents are strict and, they might get mad at her for being too dramatic if they get a phone call home. There's all kinds of worries and reasons that children may not report to an adult.
And it and it looks like you can download this app, the
Correct.
Safe to Say app, and then with the app, it looks like you have choices. You can submit a tip, like exactly how you were saying, an anonymous tip, call the hotline. Then it has other features, what to report, update existing tip, emergency options.
Correct. So I'll tell you another thing, which was another creative use of the whole Safe to Say. One time I was doing that presentation, and I was doing it to a room of fifth graders. And one of the students put up her hand. Excuse me, just a minute. Hi, are you here for the Suicide Prevention Day?
Always for suicide prevention. However, I'm here for the educator.
Terrific. Well, good luck with your stuff today.
Thank you.
And a student approached me afterwards. It was a student who rode the bus. The student said that there were students from, I worked in a private school, and the bus carried students not only from my school, but from some of the other area private schools. So the student came to me and she said, Mrs. Moroto, there were older kids on my bus the other day, and one of them was really talking about hurting herself. That's all the information she had. She said, I don't know what school they go to. I don't know their names. It was not that difficult to follow up on. I went to our wonderful middle school administrator who knew everything in the entire world. And I said, Heather was her name. I said, Heather, pull up the information for what bus kid X rides. She did. And she was able to tell me what other schools had students on that bus. My student had told me that the student talking about hurting herself was female. So I was able to call, it actually wasn't that very many schools, and say to the counselors, somebody on the bus who was female was making these remarks. And so we were able to narrow it down, and the counselor at the other school was able to pull the kid in who had been making the remarks, follow up. I don't know the outcome. I don't know whether it was a situation where the kid was truly in trouble as to talk. But quite honestly, talk is concerning too. I mean, there's usually if a child's even talking about it, even though some people may say it's attention seeking, they wouldn't be seeking that form of attention if there weren't some cause for concern. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, when I was growing up, I don't know if I just had a, you know, ridiculously cool childhood, but I never encountered anyone in that sort of state of despair when I was younger. I don't know if it's because there's so much communication these days. Like back when I was a kid, you would leave the house, there was no phone. It was just you would come back when the street lights came on. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
I
And
do.
so we
You're
were
right.
out all day riding our bikes, climbing trees, doing
Correct.
whatever it is that we did. And so we were isolated in the sense that it was just you and your buddy or your friends or whoever you were hanging out with. And today, everyone is so connected. So, what do you think? Is there more? Is this state of self harm with kids? Is there an increase, or do we just
Oh,
perceive the increase
I'm going to say a
because of
thousand
the
percent.
communication?
1,000% there's an increase. So, Liam, you and I are about the same age. And when I was a kid in school, I don't ever remember anybody where suicide was a concern, where somebody had to take a leave of absence from school because they were in an inpatient psych unit or they were attending an intensive outpatient program or anything like that. Granted, there might have been a few and I didn't know about it. I was maybe 24 or 25 years old before I even heard of the concept of somebody cutting their own self, usually the wrists, but it can be anywhere on the body. And I remember saying, like, but why would a person do that? And by contrast, routinely now, I see kids, whether it is in my private therapy practice or at the school-based job that I had, as young as 9, who are already cutting themselves, already talking about self-harm. I can remember a individual that I worked with who was 11 and had not just thought about suicide, but was able to identify a plan, a date, and the plan was actionable. And those are where your alarm bells really go off. So when I was a kid, Liam, there was no Mrs. Moroto at school. We had one counselor, and her whole job was to get you into college or help you get into college. The emotional stress either wasn't there or it wasn't dealt with. And certainly there was some sweeping under the rug. But now there's a whole other type of counselor, which is the type I was, where your whole job is day in and day out, you are following up on when the English teacher comes to you and says, this essay was pretty dark. And, perhaps the student was writing about, I don't know, knives and blood dripping. I think, Susan, it would be great if you would follow up with that student. Or parents that call in and say, here's what I'm seeing at home. Should I be worried? My standard line to parents was, I would talk with them about the worry level, but I would routinely say at parent coffees, my default position is just put the counselor in place. I wish every kid had a counselor from birth in the same way that they have a pediatrician from birth. With the pediatrician, you go once a year, whether you need it or not, and you say, hi, how you doing? And that way that person's not a stranger. And I wish it was the same way with the counselor, that that kid met that person and played in their office with Legos at 4, and then talked to them when they were 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up. And that way, if the difficult time comes, it's not, well, let's take you into a stranger and have you bare your soul and spill your guts and share all your personal stuff. But instead, it's, you want to go see that nice lady that you play her with the toys in her office. That to me makes so much sense. I would love to see that implemented just as a just good practice across the board.
What would you say? Okay, somebody, their kid comes home and they say, "Ma or Dad, there's this kid, he's always depressed and I don't want to get involved, but I feel that if I don't do anything and something happens and he injures himself or attempts suicide, that what would you tell that person, who sees somebody who looks like they're in trouble but doesn't really want to get involved and make themselves known and put the attention on themselves? What would you tell that person?
So are we talking about a kid or are we talking about a grown up?
Anybody who
Yep.
sees somebody that looks like they're in trouble,
Yep.
wants to do something, but doesn't want any attention, doesn't want to have the person say, "What are you doing tattling on me?" or "I told you this in
Okay.
confidence," or
So in other words, I, Susan, am aware of, say, my daughter has a friend, and I can tell that friend's in a bad way. Is that what we're talking about, Liam? What do I do?
yeah, what
How,
do you
how about I
do
tell a
when?
story? So
Sure.
there was a time, and I'm not happy to tell the story, but I'm willing to tell the story because the person is now over 18, and the things that happened are a matter of public record because the person is currently in prison. Um, my daughter was connected to someone in high school who my daughter finally came to me and said, Mom, I'm really worried. Person keeps talking about hurting himself. And the person's parents did not want him to go to counseling. The father was a cop. The friend of my daughter was also wanting to be a cop when he was older. And while seeking mental health help is not, it doesn't immediately eliminate you from that career as an option. Cops are under more scrutiny because they want people who are carrying firearms who have to be responsive in the moment to be emotionally stable. So initially, I really struggled with it because I knew the parents at that point in time were not wanting their child to get help. And I talked with my husband about it. I said, what do I do? Well, my instinct is to call the mom and mom to mom say, hey, I'm worried about your kid, not just as a mom, but also I'm a therapist. And so clinically, this is what I'm seeing. But I was worried that if the mom told me, get out of our business, this is none of your concern, and my kid is fine, which is an answer that you often get, that I would have nowhere to go with it. So instead, I called the school counselor, and I had a relationship with this guy because he helped me through two children's high school years. And you don't raise anybody from birth to 18 without having a little bit of adolescent turbulence. And I really liked Mr. Miller over at Garnet Valley High School. So I called Mr. Miller and I said, Mr. Miller, here's the situation. So I knew two things would happen. Mr. Miller would have to call home. I also knew that Mr. Miller could then follow up with the student and say, pull them in periodically, how you doing? And that if counseling was not implemented due to the parents' hesitancy about it, and if the student was still telling Mr. Miller, I'm still thinking about hurting myself pretty darn frequently, and again, had an actionable plan, that Mr. Miller would then be obligated to make a report to Child Protective, which then that agency could intervene and mandate that the child have to have counseling. At any rate, fast forward 7 years. I don't really know what happened because after high school, my daughter was not connected to this person. But fast forward 7 years, and just about a year ago at Easter time, the person became an active shooter and basically attempted suicide by cop and is now sitting in prison because of it. So that's a real life story right there. And I plenty of times had parents call me in my school counseling role and say, I'm friends with so and so, the other mom, and I don't want her to know it was me. And I would always say, total anonymity guaranteed. There doesn't need to be a reason that I say I got a phone call from any parent. I can just call the parent and say I observed it with my own eyes, or the student's teachers noticed a change in affect and demeanor and they were concerned. And that happened a lot too. We had wonderful teachers who were just really emotionally astute, high EQ, emotional intelligence. And many a time, a teacher would flag a student for me and say, so and so just seems off, not herself lately. And then I would pull so and so in, how you doing? And I'd say 9.7 times out of 10, the teacher was right. And this kid would burst into tears and tell me what was happening.
And just to reiterate, if you are in crisis, you can call 988
Yep.
or text or talk to 741
741. So additional hotline numbers, the Trevor Project is specifically for LGBTQ youth. And I believe that's because LGBTQ youth have a higher rate of self-harm and depression and anxiety and so forth than other kids. So the trevorproject.org has many resources. They have a phone number, which is 866-488-7386. You can text the Trevor Project at 678-678. And you can, I believe those are, and then you can also go on their website and look and see what resources they have posted right there. So all of this information I put at the bottom of my, I'm sorry?
The Trevor Project, I've got the website.org. You deserve a welcoming, loving world, and so do the people you care about. Here you can reach out to a counselor if you are struggling, find answers and information, and get the tools you need to help someone else. So let's see if we could find those numbers that you just talked about. Okay, so you can reach a counselor, or you can contact them at, so there's a contact form, or you can reach out on the Trevor Project specifically for LGBTQ, the LGBTQ community.
Correct. So Liam, back to our conversation about the way things are different for today's children than they were for you and me. Kids are aware of sexuality or sexual orientation or sexual whatever at a way younger age. So I would routinely have 10-year-olds come into my office and proudly tell me that they were lesbian, bisexual. They would start diagramming it on the board for me because they were using terms that I didn't know, like they were bi-romantic but asexual, or they were this designation, that designation. And so when I look at the stressors that are on children today, at 10, all I really had to worry about was if my parents were mad at me, keeping up my grades, and making sure none of my friends were mad. I did not have to worry about figuring out what my gender orientation was, what my sexual orientation was. I didn't have to worry about whether I should or shouldn't go to an adult to report my friend who was talking about self-harm. I didn't have to worry about alienating the other kids at the lunch table by saying the wrong thing because I know who their parents voted for in the last presidential election, and they voted for the wrong person. That's a big one too, where if I think about how adults fracture relationships willy-nilly over political differences, kids don't always have that option. So they have to be really careful about what they say, because if they don't, and if I then have to sit next to you in the assigned seat in the art room, or we're going to history class and the history teacher has assigned a project and we're to work all together on it, well, I better not have really alienated you when I say at the lunch table that the person you voted for is an idiot and is negative this and all of that. And watching kids try to dance around that and be so careful with their words, I was impressed because, quite honestly, some of them had better skills in the being, help me with my words, Liam, with not alienating the people in the room. But also, when I was 10, I'm not sure I knew what a Democrat or a Republican was. I think I knew that I kind of remember when Tony Tyler came to the house at Halloween and he was dressed in a Jimmy Carter mask and he offered my dad peanuts and they cracked up laughing. I kind of knew it had something to do with the president of the United States, but I didn't really know more than that. So they're just so aware. And then in terms of the social media stuff and news coverage in general, I think about the fact that when I was a kid, Ted Bundy was on the loose and he was abducting young girls, raping them, killing them, all of the above. I was blissfully unaware. My parents never told me not to talk to strangers, so I talked to strangers all day long. Whereas today's kids are not only aware of everything that has happened, they've seen some awful things in real time. So they've been on social media or they've walked into the room when their parents are watching the news and they've seen the shooting in this place or the attack that happened on the metro in New York or whatever it is. So the level of fear, I never had to worry that I was going to get shot at school. I just walked into the building. We had no locked doors. There was no identification for adults. Anybody could come in. And I remember on a friend's birthday, her church youth group leader came to school, no sign in or anything needed. And we all took our lunch and went outside and sat on the grass and had a lovely picnic together. But these kids, when we do our active shooter drills, which you do that routinely now in schools, you have to really work with kids about, I need you to be prepared if there ever is an emergency. I also don't want you to freak out. That trying to tell kids that a lot of times the school is a safe place. And I would always say to kids, did you ever read the news story that said Sally Sue went to school, went through her day, went to sports practice, came home, ate dinner, did her homework, and went to bed? And then they say, no, that wouldn't make the news. And I would try to explain to them exactly. It happens all the time, but you're not going to hear about that. You're only going to hear about when it goes south. Because for them, with the saturation that we all get of the news coverage of all the terrible things, they feel like it's all the time.
What's the term that they use in the newscasting industry? If it bleeds, it leads.
You
They're
got it. My
always
husband says
looking.
that one. Correct. If it bleeds, it leads. And I'll tell you another thing that you and I didn't have to worry about, Liam. If your parent was having, let's say your parents were married or my parents were married, and one parent or the other had an affair, we might not know it. Contrast that with today. Here I am. I'm 10. I'm doing my homework on my iPad. Whoops-a-daisy. Here it comes from the cloud, the sexually explicit photos to my mom from the guy who's not my dad. Now I'm 10 and I'm going to Mrs. Peloto, the school counselor, saying, do I share this information with my dad that my mom is sleeping with whoever, or do I not? That would be a hard one for anyone, but you're 10. Sure. And believe me, that's happened more than once. I've had a number of situations where either the student came to me with that issue or concern, or the child I was seeing in therapy, or the adults came in for couples counseling. And the way adult A found out about the affair was because the kid was home, and the cloud, being helpful, deposited those text threads between the affair partner and the other spouse to the child. So there's so many things they deal with that you and I, Liam, boy, were we lucky.
We were lucky when you think about it. And for anyone watching, if you have a question, feel free to comment. And Susan, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the services you provide. We'll put your email up there and tell us a little bit more about you.
So services I provide run the gamut from what I call garden variety talk therapy, which is you're anxious, you're depressed, you want some coaching on your parenting of your snarky teenager or your snarky 5-year-old, or you are going through infertility or whatever the case might be. So that's certainly an option. We can go at it the old-fashioned way and talk. We can also do EMDR, which is an excellent trauma resolution technique. It stands for eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing, meaning eyes. It accesses the same neurological pathway as when a person is asleep in the rapid eye movement part of their sleep, which is when they dream and they process emotional things. And Liam and I did a whole simulcast about that. And at some point, Liam or I can get the link for that if anybody wants to watch the recording and learn more about that. I do some medical advocacy, which is something I feel very strongly about. And I would consider this to be part of it, that advocating for things that are going to make people healthy and well, from the neck down and from the neck up, which in all honesty, there really isn't much of a difference. We know now between the gut-brain axis and all the different viral things that can affect brain function, autoimmune illnesses, the immune system can attack the brain as much as it can attack any other organ of the body. So I am all about getting people well in all kinds of different ways. I also have some Substacks, and I talk about all of the above. So there is a Once Upon a Duck one that is for children, and it is me and those little rubber ducks. I don't think I have one with me, but sort of promote it. It's sort of half game, it's half interactive activity. There's a little bit of a Mr. Rogers-esque quality to the story time videos, but the ducks and I are also coaching kids, essentially trying to get them to have the kind of childhood that Liam and I had, because we know that that results in a more resilient adult who's less likely to struggle in the way that today's young adults are struggling. How about you, Liam?
Once upon a duck. Is this
Once Upon a Duck?
Okay.
Once Upon a Duck, and coming soon is Mrs. Moroto's Guide to Raising Fine Young Ducklings, which is me. It's basically everything that I've been saying to the parents in my office and the parents of the kids at the school where I worked, but in a form that people can access it via the written word.
Intro to Once Upon a Duck for grown-ups. So you've got a introduction right here. So this is quite a prolific Substack. You have a lot of entries.
I have a lot of fun with it, Liam. Let's see. Go to maybe a recent one. Go to one where there's something about how many ducks. Yeah, but
how many ducks can you find?
Go to that one. So I
Look
don't know
closely. Tell me in the comments how many ducks. And so this is an actual.
It's an actual bunch of flowers from the Moroto garden, the Moroto estate, if you will. And tucked into some of those flowers are the little itty bitty ducks. So I tried to put the yellow ducks in the yellow flowers. And what I'm going to do is go back for any kid that wasn't able to find them. And I will post, I did do the pictures of the zoom in. So that kids can see. There's a bunch of little ducks and turtles and elves and all types of nonsense.
Them. Yeah, right.
You see them?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like I Spy with my little eye, that one. I'm just trying to get kids doing things that are fun. But the ducks, yep. But I also want, this is my pitch for my grown-ups out there. If you're a grown-up and this resonates with you, you can be what I call a duck ambassador. And that's only because I don't have another term for it yet. And what that means is basically whatever you want it to, that I can make some a $5 batch of rubber ducks from Amazon show up at your house, or you can make them show up at your house. And then I want you to take pictures or video of you and the ducks doing things. And by that, I mean anything from changing the oil in the car to cooking, to hiking, to planting your vegetable garden at this time of year or your flower garden. Things that will get kids interested in activities that are not screen-based. And the ducks and I will also periodically give kids a little bit of what I call school counselor wisdom. So if you go, Liam, if you go back to that list of posts, there's one called How to Play in the Snow, something like that. It's relatively early on, so scroll to the bottom. There you go. Go back up.
A nice winter story about little brown duck and a big.
So that's a cute one. That's just a story. But go back up. One above that is Mrs. Moroto's Guide to Playing in the Snow. That one's really targeted to middle school students. Middle school students usually don't want to break suction with their device. So, Liam, you want to read it or you want me to read it?
Mrs. Moroto's instruction for having fun in the snow. Step one is the hardest part. I'm going to help you. Friends, the big day has come. Lots of snow on the ground. Lots of kids staring at. Wait, hold on. That's not how it's supposed to go. Let's get everybody off their
They're
darn
darn.
devices and out into the white stuff. I guarantee you that it will be more fun than staring at a little rectangle that you're holding in your hand. And I will help you get ready. Yes, bringing kids back to our childhood, how we used to.
Exactly. So I break down, this really came out of some of my real life discussions with middle school students. After a snow day, I would go into a classroom and say, everybody tell me what you did yesterday. And a lot of them had been for an hour building a snowman. And then that meant they spent the other 9 staring at their device. And I would kind of have these arguments with them about, I would say my way was better, the going outside and playing all day. And they would say, no, Mrs. Moroto, it's better to stare at your phone all day. So the whole article is like that. The whole post is sort of like, all right, this next part's hard too. You're going to have to go get every piece of snow gear you need, snow pants, hat, mittens, gather it all up. Then I tell them they need to go pee. And then I tell them, like you would with a 3-year-old, I don't care if you don't have to go. You're going to go try, because trust me, once you get into all that gear, you're going to have to go pee in the next 5 minutes. So just go do it preemptively right now. And then we go all the way through that they're going to
Step
gather a carrot and they're
step
going to,
one, you have to break the suction.
you have to break suction
You
from your
break the,
device,
you are sucked into the matrix. I love that. Yes.
right?
Step one, break the suction. Step two,
And
snow
so I
pants, jacket, gloves, boots, hat, and scarf. Have you found them all? Optional surprise spray bottle. Oh, okay. It's filled with food coloring. Excellent addition. Of course, you've got to have a carrot if you're making a snowman. Absolutely. Step
Okay, so
number
notice
three,
the last
no
item on that.
arguing.
Hang on, go back up to the list. Optional, a few little ducks or frogs or maybe a penguin or two. I'll take whatever you've got, because I want the kids doing these things too. I want them to make their snowman, and then I want them to take a picture or a video with a duck or a penguin or a turtle or a frog, and then I want them to send it to me and I'll put it online. And that way they've proved that either they or someone went outside and made an actual snowman.
Ab- Absolutely. And when you're so, when you're so involved and you're so, as opposed to, it seems like like you say, it's a perfect term, this idea of suction, being sucked into the social media
Yep.
thing that it's like looking internally, so your experience is that of living sort of inside your mind, as opposed to when you are collecting the penguin or the duck or the carrot, or you're focused on the exterior world. And so it seems like we spent a lot of time living in the outside when we were kids, as opposed to being sucked into our internal
Exactly. And so
realities.
here's the other thing. Do you want to come say hi? We're live right now. No, no way. Okay. Good luck to you. Have you met with your person yet?
I have.
Did it go as you hoped?
Yes. Yes.
Good. Okay. And did you talk about all 3 measures or
We actually talked about all of them, but
great? Did you feel like the person is going to vote the way you want them to do?
um, it's hard to tell because weren't able to tell which if they were out of committee yet.
Got it.
Which
Got
we
it.
found out one of them was.
Okay. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
So I'm talking with people as they get on and off the elevator. They are moving from the room that is back this way, which is where it's sort of the hangout room for people who are volunteers with American Society for Prevention of Suicide, as well as just citizens who have come. They've signed up to be a part of the day because they have something. The woman that I sat next to, who was not officially a volunteer, was there because she's concerned about the head injuries for the football players and other players, and I'm forgetting the name of it, but help me, Liam, the name of the
Concussion.
but there's the E word, that then leads to how
Encephal.
Something like
swelling
that.
of the brain. Swelling of the brain. It's a
Yes, the one
yeah.
where the football players get the multiple bonks to the head, and they
Yes.
then carry a lifelong increased risk of dementia and other problems. So that's on her radar, and she wanted to speak with her Congress people about. Not sure whether she wanted to curb sports activity or put something in to make it safer, but that was
And
sort
so
of
for
her.
those who have joined us late, tell everybody again where
Sure.
exactly you are, and I believe I
I
have the
am at
website.
the Pennsylvania State Capitol, and that is in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which is 2 hours away from where I live. And I'm here pretty close to the room where the folks from the American Foundation for the Prevention of Suicide are based. They have put together a really phenomenal day where they have basically facilitated it. In other words, anybody could, if I wanted to meet with my congressperson, I assume I could write and arrange that time on my own. But they went ahead and sort of got the Congress people to block some time, and then anyone who has suicide prevention on the brain can kind of hop in, and it's easier accessibility because they've already gotten those people to clear their schedules for a portion of the day and have on their agenda that they're hearing the concerns of constituents that are concerned about suicide and suicide prevention. So
And
as
let's
Mhm.
see
Well, I have
if we
another
have it
person to go online. Let
here.
me see if I can ask. Did you meet with your person yet?
I did, yeah.
How'd it go?
It's good.
Good. Okay. You feel like it was like you got everything you wanted?
Yeah, they listened and asked me questions they needed, so.
Terrific. Well done.
Thank you.
Are you leaving for the day? Are you done?
Yeah, I'm gonna go up to the table until you wrap up.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll go up to the
And
table in a little bit. I think I know where she is, but all of those
and
numbers are
just
great.
so to reiterate,
Yeah.
if you are in crisis, you can call 988 instead of 911. And if
Mm-hmm.
you would like to just text or talk, you can also call 741
You text 741.
741. Text 741. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
741. And
Yeah. If you're in
available both
Pennsylvania, you
in.
need to text that you're in Pennsylvania. So I don't know if 741 is Pennsylvania specific or if it is nationwide. But in Pennsylvania, you have the option to text that. And I'm not clear on whether I imagine the other 49 states, if the number isn't 741, that they have some equivalent arrangement.
Okay. Alrighty. Sounds.
And so, Liam, back to things that you and I were talking about when you were saying that we were outside and we were playing. And so, if you think about all the things that we were developing, you and I were developing our gross motor skills, which is running, jumping, climbing trees. We were developing our fine motor skills when we did puzzles and Legos and crafts. We were developing our conflict resolution skills because if you and I got in a fight about, I want to play house, and you say, no, we're playing cops and robbers, then we're going to have to duke it out. We're going to have to take turns. We're going to have to figure out some way of resolving our difference. We are getting outdoor time. So we were getting, if it was summer, sunlight exposure, which was activating our mitochondria, and it was doing some other good things for us. Whereas today's kids, let's take the fine motor. Their fine motor skills are so poorly developed that I had the middle school art teacher come to me and say that a lot of the seventh graders were not able to use scissors well. They weren't, let's call it, fluent in
Yeah,
scissors.
I was at the supermarket. This must have been a week ago, and there were these, I don't know, maybe kids in 13, 14, 15, and they had a cart. And so they were in the parking lot, and they were moving with their cart, and the cart wheels hit like some sort of crack or something in the pavement, and
Yep.
they were going like this with the cart, and somebody, an employee from the supermarket, said,
Mm-hmm.
"Hold on," comes out and then pulls the cart from the front, like the kids didn't have the
Dexterity.
experience dexterity or just the experience with something that was rolling to know that you just had to like lift it up a little bit, make it
Yep.
pop a wheelie on your on your shopping
Yep.
cart. Just I was just completely shocked. I was like, these kids don't know what to do when their shopping cart meets a little fissure in the
Yep.
in
Yep.
the road. I was
So I'll give
like,
you another one where
goodness.
you'll be amazed. And this happened in my own darn house. So, so it was, let's say my older daughter was maybe 11. She was definitely in middle school, and we had a school holiday, and she wanted me to take her to the library. There's the public library to get some books. Terrific. I'm all about that. So I said, great, call the library. Just make sure they're open. I think maybe it was a national holiday. Maybe it wasn't. I can't remember. Leah, I'm not fabricating. 20-minute meltdown and tears. I'm not calling. Kids today are scared to make a phone call when they don't know the person at the other end. She said, I will go online and I'll look it up for you. I said, that's terrific, but the price of me chauffeuring you to the library is you have to call and speak to a human. So eventually she did it, but we're talking full on tears for 20 minutes. So as dumb as it sounds, some of my advice for parents of kids who are like, oh, I don't know, beginning honestly at 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. If you're in the pizza place, tell them to go up and ask the person, we need some more napkins, or give them the order. Tell them we want a large cheese pizza and a pepperoni, but get them used to talking to people and making requests of strangers. Then as they get a little older, by the time they are maybe 16, I'm not going to call and schedule your doctor's appointment. I will do it with you. And so I would wait until my girls were home from school, and we would sit next to each other at our kitchen island, and I would be right there in case they were asked a question that they didn't know the answer to, like what form of insurance do your parents have or whatever. But they need to be comfortable doing that, because we have a slew of, I'm going to call them children, but that's mainly because I'm old, not because, who are in their early 20s. And they are still calling mom and dad, how do I do X? And the X, Liam, is something that you and I were doing without thinking about it by 16, because we didn't have a choice. So when you and I got lost when we were playing, if we went too far from home, there's no way to get home. There's no GPS. There's no cell phone. You got to go up to the lady and say, how do I get to such and such street? Or whatever the need is. But these kids don't. They don't even have to say that, if I'm trying to navigate, like even just, let's say, from the parking lot, the parking garage where I parked today to the Capitol building. I could see the Capitol building, but I didn't know where the entrance was. So I asked some people, like, which way do I go to get in? That's not a big deal for me, because that's something I grew up doing. Today's kids would be really comfortable to go online, entrance to the Capitol building. Oh, mom, it says we have to go to 4th Street, right? But they're not comfortable going and just asking a question. So get them doing all of that.
Ask ChatGPT, where's the Capitol? Where's the entrance?
They will ask GPT. They're really good at going online. They're excellent. They speak Portal very well. I'll go on the portal of my doctor, mom. Terrific. But we're going to need to actually make the phone call too, just so they get used to doing it.
Outstanding. Well, we've been on for close to an hour. How time flies. And we're going to, I don't know what your schedule is, Susan, but we're going to be going live again for the latest installment of the Make America Healthy Again action broadcast. So,
Correct. In about 2 hours.
if we can, in about 2 hours, right?
Yep.
Yes. In
Do we
about
know what
2
they're talking
hours.
about today, Liam? Because I like to go in with my thoughts organized.
Yes, that's a great question. I looked at their program for today, April 15th, and I
Hang on.
think they're kind of freewheeling
You guys
it.
do? Yeah?
Thank you.
All went well?
Yes, very well.
Great. Terrific.
I think they're kind of freewheeling it. I think they are, they don't have anything defined. They just say they're going to be talking about the topics, the important topics of the day. So,
Okay, well, I know in
last,
the week that they were like, I saw a headline about RFK is pushing. I'm laughing only because it's like, in a bad way, it's kind of like hilarious to me that it took him to do it. It's 2026, but he's now saying that in medical school, they have to actually have a class in nutrition. So that's exciting. Like horrifying that
Yes,
it,
that's
that it took
exciting.
this to get there, but a class in nutrition. What were other headlines from MAHA this week? Do you remember any, Liam?
Um, I, I, I just was. I don't remember any. I didn't have any updates in the feed, but I really enjoyed last week how there was a focus on microplastics and how
Yes,
they were talking about how that's such a prevalent
correct.
problem in all and
Which is
everything that.
which is why on my 30-year Substack, so one, I have some of my posts are sort of short, sweet, and they're for the average person who is not where Liam and I are, that they are just approaching this idea of maybe, hi, how'd you do? Kim, do you want to come talk? All right, are you sure? Um,
You're doing great, Susan. I mean, people are shy, like just like we're talking about, but you're doing fantastic.
Well, I think they're also a little unclear because some of them work for American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Some of them are volunteers for, and some of them are citizens, but they're wearing shirts and they don't have clearance from whoever's at the top
Ah, sure.
to do
Yes,
this.
of course.
So maybe if they take their shirt off and they just, no, not take their shirt off, switch to a different shirt.
There you go.
They could. But we're talking, oh, right. So some of my posts are just sort of short and sweet. And one of them was, could we switch from the plastic bottles and just, get the reusable guy, get the stainless steel. You would want to go to 30 years down the rabbit hole, .substack.com for that one.
30 years down the rabbit hole.
Hmm.
So you've got Once Upon a Duck, and then your other Substack is 30 years down the
30
rabbit hole.
years spelled out. So THIRTY. I think it's 30
Okay,
years down the rabbit
let
hole.
me see.
Substack.com.
Okay.
Want me to email you a
30
link?
years down the. Let's see if we can get it down the rabbit hole. And then Susan.
30 years down the rabbit hole and .substack.com should get you there.
Alrighty, let's see what we've
Were you able to meet with your
got
congressperson?
here.
Yes. No, I wasn't.
Oh, you weren't.
I met with his representative.
How did it go?
It went really well.
Do you feel like the person really absorbed everything you were saying?
Yes, the first one I did, Eric Ready.
Nice.
He did.
Okay. Feel like he'll vote the way, like on the, good. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming and putting your time in.
All right, no problem.
Yeah,
That's
that
pretty
looks like it.
hilarious. 30 years.
I know, right?
That's hilarious.
So Liam, I
Who is
really
that
did
guy?
debate today. Like, am I bringing my crown? And there was just like, I was trying to get out the door early to get here. There's no crown. I do have a fascinator, but it's back in the car. I don't know if I will be back there yet before I do the, Oh, but anyway, so some of them, when it says Mopsy's health tip number, those are like the cute, fun, funny one. So if you can't eat it, don't put it on your skin was up there towards the top. That it's so true, all the makeup and everything. The average number, women put on some insane number of products every day between, you have your cleanser and your serum and your moisturizer back up towards the top. Yep. So right under you and me, yep, to the left. Yep, right there. Yep, right there.
If you can't eat it, don't put it on your skin.
Right, which is really what it should be. That if it's got a whole lot of unpronounceables in it, your skin's your largest organ. You're going to absorb it all systemically. That's not up for debate because think about how they give us medications via patch. So if if it's not edible, then why should it go on your skin? If it has also, and honestly, these days, there are so many great products. I sometimes honestly just look for what it's free of. And if it says no phthalates, no parabens, no this, no that, it's probably okay. But then if you need additional help, there is a handy dandy little app. I will bring it up on my phone. It is called
Is it the
Yucca.
Yucca app?
It is the Yucca app.
Yucca?
Love the Yucca
Yucca
app. So you can scan it scan a product, and the Yucca app it's orange. I have that in my, yeah, here we go. So mine is orange with a carrot. Let's see. And then you punch your carrot. And so if this was the product that I was going to buy, I would go to the barcode and just scan, bloop, and it tells you right away. So for example, recently I scanned daily sheer fluid sunscreen. I was shopping for stuff for the kids' Easter baskets from Babbo Botanicals. That sounded good to me, Babbo Botanicals, but it actually got a poor rating. It got 44 out of 100. And then what I like
really?
is so I got bamboozled on Mrs. Meyer's. I thought Mrs. Meyer's cleaning products, I don't know if you know them, Liam, but she makes dishwashing liquid and the spray cleaner for your counter and laundry products. And I thought that was a clean product, not so much. The other group to go to is Environmental Working Group, EWG. And EWG is wonderful. They've been around forever and they rate everything. So we're at the beginning of sunscreen.
This Yucca app, it sounds really intense. Like it says, here's this Bella Vita. I mean, that sounds so nice, but 21 out of 100. Oh my goodness. That
Right.
doesn't sound too good.
Although I
And
will
then,
say you have to use your critical thinking skills if anybody has any left. Because, for example, coconut oil, I use it as my moisturizer because it's edible. So, and all it has in it is I buy the organic type, and that's all. There's no other ingredient. It's the coconut oil you can cook with. And I put it on my skin as a moisturizer. When I scanned it with the Yucca app, it got a bad reading. And I was like, Mother of God, what could be wrong with coconut oil? Well, I looked at their interpretation. They thought I was going to ingest it. And they said it was too high in saturated fat. So
no,
use your brain.
yeah. Well,
Um,
83 million people have downloaded this app, and it's got a 4.8 rating out of 5 over 500,000 reviews. So how does it get better than that? That sounds like a really
Well,
great.
so I'll tell you how it gets better than that. Yucca only rates certain types of products. Environmental Working Group is like bigger and broader. So anything that you're looking for, whether it is a cleaning product, a food, a beverage, I want, gel to put on my hair. Environmental Working Group has rated everything. And their highest level is EWG verified. And you can actually go on Amazon and just type in I'm looking for sunscreen. You can type in sunscreen EWG, and Amazon will show you first the products that are EWG verified, meaning they meet environmental working. There you go. Those are my guys. Yep. So the Dirty Dozen, for people who don't know about it, it's the list of the 12 items in the produce department that are the worst offenders in terms of the having a high chemical load of the chemicals that are particularly detrimental to health. They're either carcinogenic or they're endocrine disruptors, or they do something else that's bad in the body. So the way I think of it is, if you can't afford to go organic across the board and you're only going to go organic on a select few items, those are the items. And I think apples are on there. I'm pretty sure grapes are on there.
EWG's Dirty Dozen Guide to Food, the top
Yep,
12 foods to avoid.
correct.
Okay.
Right. So let's see what we got there. Yep, BHA 7. Yeah, I mean, they're great. They're a wealth of information. Potassium bromate, who needs it? BHT, who needs it? Titanium dioxide. Although I do like a little titanium dioxide in my sunscreen because that's the barrier type as opposed to the chemical type. But I agree with them. For eating purposes, maybe not. So yeah, lots of
Yeah,
chemicals there.
aspartame, sucralose, it's in everything. Aspartame,
Yeah.
sucralose, sodium nitrates that metabolize into heterocyclic amines and acrylamides.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And Liam, this is one where one of the things that surprises me is people who are highly educated, and they're very aware of many things, like, let's say, what's going on politically or just developments in the world. But then you are with them because either you work with them or you're hanging with them for the weekend, and you see them do things and you're like, wow, so for example, when I had my weekend with my old lady friends in Chicago, Liam, when we saw that play Eureka that I keep telling you or Eureka Day that you need to see, there was a Brita filter, right? We rented an Airbnb for the weekend. So there was a Brita filter right next to the sink. And I watched my friend go and fill up the coffee maker from the sink, not from the Brita filter. And I said to her, because I have been friends with these guys for 40 years, so I can be as obnoxious as I want. I said, Annie, is there a reason why you prefer to drink other people's peed out medications when you have the option of the Brita? And her answer was, well, see, I've been drinking water out of the tap forever and I feel just fine. And of course she does feel fine. She is, I'm going to be her in my next life because she feels fantastic all the time. But honestly, one of our group was a doctor. But I'm at the far end of being aware and militant about all of these things because I was sick so young. And so it just was on my radar very soon. And I think when people have the good fortune to be healthy and they feel well, even though they may be eating McDonald's or drinking their microplastics, they kind of aren't as attuned to it. And then it's my job to be obnoxious and put it on the radar.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you can reach Susan at susanlmaroto@gmail.com.
Or my website, which is therapywithsusan.com.
Therapy with Susan, okay. And if you're looking
Mr.
to
Liam,
contact me, all you have to do is Google the unofficial king of LinkedIn Live, and I can help your live stream look as cool as this one.
and I get to say a couple words on that. Number one,
Sure.
he's not the unofficial king. He wears a crown. We didn't do it today because suicide prevention, you don't want to be making light of it. But normally, and later this afternoon, I hope, you can see Liam wearing his crown. And so anyway, there's no unofficial about it. He's official. And then the other piece is, in all seriousness, I'm tech phobic and Liam is a master, and he makes it very easy, and he holds your hand and he lets you do your thing and talk. And then all of a sudden, voila, in about 48 hours, I had a very polished looking video to put on my website of me just talking about what I do for work. So if anybody's looking for a video of Liam, you know better than I do what all the reasons people need
Right,
videos.
a promotional video, an interview. It was an interview where we got down to some core features of what it is that you provide, and it was about 40 minutes, I think.
It was 40, yeah.
For 30
And-
minutes,
and-
40 minutes, yeah.
Can I tell people about your turnaround time, or did I get preferential treatment for some reason?
No, it's, when it's best because everything's fresh in your mind. We had a little
Then let me
talk,
tell it Susan Maroto style. I go to a MAHA meeting on a Wednesday because they're always on Wednesday. And some dude named Liam that I'd never heard of put a comment in the chat saying, I'd love to interview someone. And I said, sure. So Wednesday, I don't know this person. The name Liam Gallegos is brand new to me. Thursday, we met. And I thought that Liam had stayed up all night reading everything I ever wrote on Substack because all the questions were so very spot on to what I do, what I think, what I believe in. And I said, Liam, did you stay up all night? Like, how did you do this? And he told me about his virtual assistant that doesn't sleep, or how do you say it, Liam?
exactly. Yeah,
Yep.
it's a agentic partner, my agentic twin that helps me out.
What's that word? Agentic? I don't know that word.
Agentic, agent, your secret agent.
Your secret agent. Got it.
Yes.
Okay. And so that was Thursday. And then Friday, we did the 40 minutes, and it was just me at my dining room table, and Liam was on his end. And I think you gave it to me either Saturday or Sunday. You sent me the link to the finished perfection. And there were all
And
these cute little.
and the intro for a little shameless self promotion. The intro looks something like this. Oh, right. I think that deserves some hand claps.
If I had my crown, Liam. If I had my crown,
Right.
visualize. It's on.
So I think that was an outstanding podcast that we just did. We're over an hour, so we're going to call it a day,
Call it.
and then we'll see
reconvene.
everybody. We'll see everybody in a few hours, right? And I'll send you the link if you can make it. That would be outstanding. We always love your color commentary, but if you can't, if you're busy,
Is
we
Leanne with us
understand.
today, or are you just saying it just in case?
What's that?
Is Leanne with us today, or are you? Did you just call Leanne by name, or did I hear that
No,
wrong?
no. I was just
Sorry.
saying if who know she may show up. our,
Okay.
our number one fan, but
My number one and only fan, but that's okay.
yes,
She's
that's all we,
holding the
that's all we
fan
need.
club.
Yes, that's right.
All right,
So,
Liam, I'll see you in
all
a
right.
bit. Thank you.
Thanks everyone. We'll see you later. All right. Take care. Au revoir.